Hey everyone, it's Ken and Andrea from Northern Viking Explorer and the Cruising Show podcast. Today we want to bring you our likes and wishes from our recent 7-night Caribbean cruise on the MSC Seascape. This is our full comprehensive review of the ship.
We'll be talking about the layout and amenities, our balcony cabin, the free food and restaurants, and the entertainment and activities.
So make sure to give us a follow on all your favorite social media platforms, and if you want to, you can go back and check out our full vlog series. But let's dive right into our likes and wishes from the MSC Seascape. So the layout and amenities of the MSC Seascape.
So let's start at one of my favorite spaces, and that's the upper deck and the pool areas.
Yeah, so there's kind of three main pool areas on the upper decks. The biggest one would probably be the Marina Pool area.
I would consider that like a real big focal point. Like that's where all the parties and sail away. Yeah. It's beautiful.
So that's up on deck 18, and what makes it unique is it's actually right above the buffet.
Which is different because usually I find it's like a pool buffet and maybe a small pool. So this is
right above. So actually, if you go on the ship the first time, you might not look there for it, but look above the buffet. So there's two hot tubs. So fairly large hot tubs. There's the pool area, of course. I did like that they had loungers or kind of day beds along the edge of the pool that you kind of could have your feet in the water. I know we didn't use them, but it was really quite nice.
It looked very resort. It was beautiful.
Yeah. The pool stage and the big screen are out there. Now, the one thing is because the big screen was towards the aft, it didn't really have aft views. Most of the views were off to the side.
Yeah, but a lot of view. It was very, very open. But I'd say the trade-off to that is that when you want to watch the parties at night, if you're a people watcher, there's not those upper levels surrounding the party area to people watch.
It's mostly one level. There were kind of levels above if you go towards the front of the ship, but they were the furthest away from the screen and where the parties were being held. But a really nice area. One thing I did notice though, we went out there the one day, the weather wasn't the greatest and it was quite windy.
Well, yeah, you're not sheltered by those wraparound decks from higher levels.
Yeah. So the one thing I could say is that it is a little bit, like we'd already mentioned, a little bit confusing the location of it because it's above the buffet. So it would be, I don't want to say easy to miss, but right when you get on, you might be like, where's the main pool? But there's two other kind of pool areas on the upper decks as well. So you got the Pirates Cove Aquapark. So that's on deck 18, 19, and 20-ish. So, but the main bottom portion is on deck 18. So that has 4 kind of main water slides in it.
And we went on them and tried them out.
So there's kind of the middle-sized slide that's kind of the slow one. There's the 2 racer slides, and then there was the large kind of tube slide.
Which was my favorite.
It was pretty quick. Yeah, I enjoyed that one. You do need to sign a waiver, though, to ride the slides, and that was on deck 18 on our sailing where they had that. The bottom area has the kids' splash pad area as well.
It's very fun and very creative space in there.
Little slides for the kids, jungle themed, kind of jungles themed. There's pirate ship. There's the octopus. I thought that was really neat. I would say it's one of the nicest water parks I've seen on a ship.
It had a very fun, unique, distinct vibe there.
Yeah. Now, I should also mention on deck 19, so one deck up from the bottom of that Pirates Cove, down the side, there's 2 large hot tubs. Those would be ease to miss as well.
Yes, but they were nice because they were a little bit quieter, so we enjoyed those ones.
And that's where we were able to find loungers even on the sea day right by those hot tubs. So if it's busy by the Marina Pool, I would go check that out. And then the third major pool area on the upper decks is the jungle pool area. So this is on deck 16 and then deck 18 above it. There isn't a deck 17 on the Seascape. So, no.
But there is a deck 13.
Yes. So this one's the one that's outside the buffet though, where you typically see the main pool. So this one's unique. It has the retractable roof on it.
Which is a huge bonus when you're sailing, because no matter what the weather is, you can have a nice day at the pool.
Yeah. I really like this area, kind of a jungle theme. There was a really cool tiger in there. Fair bit of seating. The seating was padded loungers in there. The one thing that was unique in there as well is when we went in the hot tubs, they were actually counting how many people were in the hot tub, and they'd have a rope and open it up, and that's the only when I noticed it, but they were limiting the number of people in those hot tubs.
Which was quite nice because you could sit there and relax and there wasn't people running in and out, in and out, in and out. It was comfortable.
And there was 2 decent sized hot tubs there as well. And then kind of right above it, so deck 18, this is where you would find the ping pong. There was foosball up there. And I would say that this was one of my favorite pool areas on the ship, except for one thing. I thought this was a little interesting.
Oh, I'm going to guess. Is this about the shuffleboard?
It is. So they had the tabletop shuffleboard up there, and I was surprised to see that it cost $6. I was actually shocked.
So that was my wish. My wish would be that the shuffleboard would be free. Small little wish.
I know it's only $6, but it just seems like something that should be free and not being charged. There was a pool table there that you pay for as well. That I can see, but the shuffleboard just seemed odd.
I've never paid to play shuffleboard before.
No. Well, that being said, the shuffleboard on the ground, like the one with the big stick, I don't remember seeing that anywhere on the ship.
I don't either.
I could be wrong, but if you've seen it,
let
us know. Yeah. But let's jump back up to the kind of Pirates Cove area because there's some other fun things in this area. So back up on deck 20, you're going to find the sports court, fully netted in sports court, basketball hoops, that sort of thing. And then that's right by the ROBOTRON as well. So this is kind of a ride on the ship.
Yeah, it looks pretty intense and exciting.
Yeah, it flips upside down and spins around. We didn't try it, but it looked like fun. And then right on deck 18, so just inside from the Pirates Cove, is the Hall of Games arcade. So this is where you're going to find the virtual games, so the F1 simulator, some arcade games, some driving games. There was a pinball machine in there, all sorts of stuff. So I was quite like a nice arcade, but not a ton of your traditional arcade games. Like I didn't like Pac-Man or whatever. Yeah, so.
And it was an area you passed through. So.
Yeah, that was actually kind of unique about it is that it's kind of the main walkway through deck 18, which kind of, you didn't realize you had to walk through the arcade to get out to the other side. But I did kind of have a little wish for this area.
What was that?
Well, there's no jogging track anywhere.
That's true. And so if you really want to get in your steps.
And the other thing I noticed, and I didn't notice till about halfway through the cruise, and I just assumed it would be on there was no mini golf course.
You're right. And I really, I kind of assumed there's going to be a mini golf course.
Yeah, so those just surprised me. But really nice upper area, and again, that Pirates Cove, I love that. So let's jump back down to deck 16. So we were by the jungle pool. We'll go inside from there is the Marketplace Buffet restaurant on deck 16. So this kind of runs from midship towards the back, and it's down both sides of the ship. It is a large buffet.
It's very easy to lose your spouse in it. You got to make a plan. I will try and find you roughly in this area.
Yeah, so it's got the multiple beverage stations, quite a bit of floor to ceiling glass, a good variety of food in there. There was,
I never felt rushed out to leave either. We could always find seating towards the aft. And we would sit there and enjoy it. There was no announcement saying you need to leave or anything.
That's what I was going to say. There was not one announcement the whole cruise saying, can you clear your spot so someone else can find a seat, which we have seen on other cruises.
Yeah, so because sometimes you just want to sit there and relax.
Yeah. I should also mention that outside the buffet at the back is an outdoor seating area.
And it is a beautiful space. Really pretty.
Yeah. So that brings us out to the back. So by the outdoor seating, you're going to find the Bridge of Sighs. There is a bar out there as well on the other side. But the Bridge of Sighs, that's gorgeous.
It's very pretty, and it's a great spot for photos. And I love how you can look down and you see the water, but you can also see the pool down below. Yes,
those infinity pools. And we'll talk about those in a second. But I really love the glass walkway. Great spot for selfies. Great spot for watching the wake views. It was gorgeous. And there are stairs from there up that go up to the Marina Pool. So
that's really usually nice. How we got to the Marina Pool.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're feeling a little lost, go to the back outside the buffet and go up the stairs. So let's jump down from there all the way down to the lower decks because there's quite a bit on the lower decks as well. So we'd already mentioned the infinity pool area. So this is at the aft of the ship on deck 8. So you've got the infinity pool. Now, I would say they weren't really swimming pools.
No, more of like a wading pool. And this was like an adult-only space.
Yeah. So there's a little kind of bridge down the middle of those. There's seats along the edge. It is gorgeous.
It's very like lounging, beautiful, relaxing, calmer.
Yeah, more than a swimming pool. Cool down type of thing. Back there's the Infinity Bar. There's also a little gelato stand. It's called Venchi 1878 Gelato on the one side. So if you want to buy gelato, I think they served like ice cream type bars out there as well. Just a really nice area, relaxing.
Very pretty.
Yeah. And then there's also on the side of the ship. So this is down on both sides of the ship, more towards the front. But you're going to find the infinity whirlpools or hot tubs. And they actually look like two, there's one on each side. So they kind of look like two hot tubs, but they're
with one staircase.
They're just one really long hot tub, and you kind of enter in the middle.
They're very interesting because the seating only runs along the one side of the hot tub. So everyone is seated facing out over the water.
Yeah.
And so it's nice.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
Those are the ones we commonly would go to. Yeah. So.
My only wish about them though is that they would be hotter.
Okay.
And maybe it's because it was so hot out, they weren't very warm, but I like a really hot tub.
You like them hotter than I do.
Yeah, I like to be boiled.
So you like to be cooked like a lobster out there.
Yes, yeah.
So, but there's great views along that promenade area. There's also, I should mention, again, on both sides of the bridges, similar to the Bridge of Sighs up high, there's the infinity bridges on both sides, again with the glass floor, just beautiful.
I really like before dinner when you're dressed up to go out there and take some photos. It's just pretty to see the sunset.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful space.
Now, if you go inside on Deck 8, this is where you're going to find a lot of the specialty restaurants through the walkway there. But even on the one side, kind of the outdoor seating areas for the restaurants are there, that sort of thing. But I do have a wish as well for the outdoor promenade. It doesn't walk all the way around. You can't go around the front.
It's true. You can get a fairly long walk.
If you walk back and forth.
But you can't do actual laps.
So yeah, it goes down the one side over the Infinity Bridge around the back, and then down the other side and the same thing.
So you can still get a pretty good long walk in.
Yeah.
But I love when you can go all the way around.
Well, especially, I know we'd already mentioned this, because there isn't a jogging track either. There isn't, I mean, you can walk back and forth, but if you do want to go on a walk that goes around, it's either that or the gym.
Yeah.
So, but main dining room. So there's basically 4 main dining rooms on the ship. There's the Cala John Dal restaurant. So we ate actually the first night in the Cala John Dal, and then we got moved over to the Green Wave because our dining time changed. So those would be your 2 of your main ones. There's also the A. Jean restaurant, which is, I believe, I looked in our pamphlet, it said the My Choice Dining for Aura guests were in there. And then there's also the Skyline restaurant, which I think was right by the Le Cabaret Rouge. So 4 main dining options. Now,
I would say that they're smaller though, because you don't have that one big grand dining room.
Well, they're all kind of single-story restaurants. I'd say they're more modern than kind of classic elegant. So, and they're kind of all spread across decks 5, 6, and 7.
And some don't have any windows. Some have some side windows, but you don't get that big aft view that you get in some dining rooms.
Like the Cala John Dal and the Green Wave, it's only on the side. So there aren't a lot of window seats.
And I did kind of miss that big high ceiling, grand ballroom feeling. I like that. So you didn't get that in here, but they were nice. They all had the cloth on the table. They were nice.
They were, yeah, definitely. And then on Deck 8, as I'd already mentioned, the specialty restaurant. So you've got the Butcher's Cut Steakhouse. We didn't eat there other than we had the complimentary breakfast there.
Yeah.
Very nice decor, kind of red leather seats in there. There's some table for 2, some big tables as well. Then you've got the Kato Sushi Bar on Deck 8 as well. That one was neat because it's got the conveyor belt where the sushi goes around.
It's kind of in a very high traffic area walkway, so it's easy to find, whereas the Butcher's Cut Steakhouse you could easily miss.
Yes, yeah. And then you've got, right next to Butcher's Cut, though, is Kato Teppanyaki, so that's where they, it's kind of a show and dinner at the same time where they're cooking in a very stylish fashion. And then we've got Ocean K Restaurant, I believe that's the seafood restaurant on the ship, and then you've got Ola Tacos and Cantina, another one on there. So
they also have complimentary breakfast in that one, but we didn't get a chance to try it.
Now there's also, so this is not really it kind of is a restaurant.
Yeah.
The Loft Cafe. So we would commonly go there and listen to music in the evenings. They have the bar in there. I believe they had a coffee machine you could buy. But in the mornings, they did have more of a continental breakfast in there. So, but I thought it was great, little bit retro style in there. I like the old typewriter in there and kind of orangey colors.
It goes with all the jazz music.
Yeah.
It's actually quite comfortable in there, and it's a very relaxing space to be in.
If you're just looking for a spot to kind of chill out and just sit, it was good.
It was nice.
And then kind of across the way as well, you're going to find the sports bar. So a little bit more upbeat, lots of TVs with the games on them.
And a variety of like booth and seating options too. So if you're there with a party, they had bigger.
There was some big areas.
Yeah. It was good.
They've also got some casino games in there. So if you want to
all
do that,
kind of gaming.
Yeah. And then the big screen and bar in the middle. Nice area as well. Now, what did you think of the Cora Theater? This was on deck 6 and 7.
Okay, so I like that it's big, it's open, so good views.
Not the biggest theater.
No.
It's large. I would say it's more of a large to mid-sized theater.
But it's more of that like a movie theater straight on view than that wrap around theater.
Yeah. Again, just like the dining rooms, I wouldn't call it elegant.
No.
It's more functional. Like one flat slope. I do really like when the theaters are multi-balcony. Like they just, I don't know.
Like I like when it looks like we should be going to the opera. Like I like that like grand feeling. But at the very least, I have to say though, there wasn't a lot of pillars and stuff like messing up your view.
No, just a few on the sides. But for the most part, they weren't in the way.
Easy to find a good seat. Yeah.
The other thing I actually had to like about this as well, some cruise lines, they will block off sections for the premium passengers.
Like the best seats right at the front.
I didn't notice that. I mean, it's possible they did, but I didn't notice any sections being blocked off for
I didn't feel like a second class cruiser.
No.
No, I didn't. And sometimes you can be made to feel that way.
Well, I'll be honest, we did the Bella class.
Yeah.
So they picked the cabin for us. It was the basically the least expensive balcony option. And I didn't feel like I was treated any different. No. So it's I enjoyed our shows in there. It was a nice venue. But again, more movie theater style.
Yeah.
But the next venue I actually quite enjoyed as well.
And this one had that kind of grand, interesting.
Had a lot of character, I'd say that. Yeah. So it's the Le Cabaret Rouge on deck 7 at the aft. So this one you have to come in on deck 7, but it goes down to deck 6. It's a 2-story venue, kind of a circular design. So you sit around it on both sides. There's a full bar in there. There's a limited amount of good seating.
Okay, so what's interesting is there's a lot of seating around in that area if you just want to use it like a lounge. You just want to sit and relax and sit with your friends. But if you actually want to watch the shows, those seats are hard to get.
Well, the one time we came late and we just sat off to the side, we couldn't see anything, but we just listened to the music. But for the most part, if we wanted a good seat where we could see, we had to come there right away. So half an hour before or whatever, and we'd pick a good seat. So.
But it made an interesting venue, though, definitely.
For sure. So I guess I wish that there's just limited prime seating, we'll say. But I enjoyed the venue. And it actually was a really nice place to come sit in the daytime with the aft views.
Honestly, even that one evening, there was nice music playing. We couldn't see anything, but we still really just enjoyed sitting in there.
Now, the next spot is actually one of my favorite on the ship. So it's right outside Le Cabaret Rouge is the Boulevard du Cabaret. And this area had a really interesting tunnel that you walk through with lights that changed colors.
Would you say mirrors, kind of like
kind of mirrors? Yeah, it was really kind of trippy when you walk through there.
It was fun.
And then towards the Le Cabaret Rouge, then there's a fake hot air balloon that you can stand inside, take selfies, and it's got a virtual screen background that changes. So it's like you're flying through the Grand Canyon. And
even sometimes staff were there and they would, if you wanted, would take our phone and take a picture for us.
Yeah.
Like complimentary, very kind.
Yeah.
It was a fun thing.
I enjoyed it. I just thought it was a nice touch and just a really cool spot. So I do want to say, like, there was a lot of stuff in the lower decks.
Yeah, there is.
Because now we're touching on Times Square.
Yeah.
So this is on deck 6. It's kind of the shopping area on the ship. So
it's kind of like a mini second atrium.
Yeah, but it's longer. Like
yeah. But I loved how they decorated it and they called it Times Square because for me, it became a landmark on the ship and I knew where I was.
Well, and it's had the one area with the kind of that you could look down over above, and they had dance lessons in there with the Cityscape, which was kind of the New York area. But this is where I shouldn't say all, a lot of the shopping was in this area. So the duty-free shop, liquor, tobacco products. I should mention in the duty-free shop, this is where you would find toiletries if you need them, basic like Tylenol, that kind of stuff as well.
If you forgot something, that's where you're going to want to look.
A little bit of travel gear, and then the snacks, so chips, chocolate, that kind of stuff. So that was in the duty-free shop. There was jewelry stores, there's clothing stores. I was actually surprised at the clothing stores. They had shoes and stuff in there. Handbags, a handbag store, expensive watch store. Yeah. But then the other one was the Venchi 1878 chocolate shop.
And they have gelato there too.
I think this I'm not sure actually. I think I could be wrong. 1878 I think is the one at the aft by the infinity pool.
Okay.
I think this is just Venchi, and then it had some other
that
I can pronounce.
Yeah, okay.
So, but it's a chocolate shop. You could buy gelato there, all sorts of chocolates that are in the glass case, and then
wrapped as well. Yeah. So if you want to take candy home or chocolate.
And then it wrapped around the corner with the seating.
The whole area smells like chocolate.
Yeah. And some pretty large creations there too. And then kind of, so in the Times Square area, but up a level, deck 7 midship, this is where you're going to find the casino. So right above it, you can kind of see up there. It's kind of, walking through there, I would say it's kind of your average size casino. So slot machines and the table games are all in there. But it's, again, as I mentioned, it's open to kind of above and below. The Loft Cafe and the sports bar above, and then the Times Square below. And then quite a large bar in the middle that had like TV screens on it. So that's there on deck 7. It was quite a really nice area.
It was a lot.
Yeah. And then we can't forget, this was one of the most beautiful areas on the ship.
Yeah.
I would say is the atrium. So it spanned over 4 decks.
And
so 5, 6, 7, and 8.
And there's so much like glass and shiny and like it is brilliant in there.
I love the crystal staircases that are on a lot of MSC ships. That's gorgeous.
And there's multiple stairs, so it's easy to get much easier to get a photo because there's the multi-levels, and sometimes the photographers are there, but they're just taking up a couple of the staircases. Yeah. So it's so good.
Down on the bottom, so there's the bar, of course, guest services is at the bottom deck on deck 5 there as well. The dance floor in front of the bar, and then above it, there's kind of screens all the way up, and then I think it was probably deck 6, there was a stage. So the stage was on top of it. So when they had parties in there, that's where the DJ or the cruise director or whatever would be with everybody kind of down below.
And it didn't matter then like what level you were watching from because they had the giant screen right in front of you. It was amazing.
And they always had different things on there. I know when we walked on, it just felt really beautiful and
elegant.
gorgeous. There's a whale, I think, that went across the screen. It was really nice. So
the first impression when you see that is it's awesome.
Yeah. So I would call it elegant. Yeah.
I'd agree.
The other thing I do want to mention is this ship uses smart elevators, which we've come to really enjoy. I think it's far more efficient, and rather than waiting in the elevator for long periods of time, you can wait outside. So the way it works, if you haven't used it, outside you push the floor you want to go to once for every person in your party. It tells you which elevator to go to.
So you know where to line up.
And then you get on, and it's more direct. It might only stop at a couple of floors rather than sometimes we've had almost every floor. So
I would way rather wait 3 minutes for an elevator than spend 5 minutes in the elevator.
But I don't think we waited 3 minutes more than once after a show.
Yeah.
Like the weights were on the shorter side. And the other cool thing is some of the elevators, I shouldn't say all of them, Some of them had a screen outside that told you what the wait was going to be, so whether it was a minute or 2 minutes. But it was actually somewhat accurate as well.
You could see sometimes the elevator obviously got held.
Yeah.
So then it would add a few more seconds, but
yeah.
It was pretty accurate.
Yeah. So I appreciate those. At first, when we've had it on a few ships now, and at first I was like, but I've really come to like the smart elevators.
Just don't jump in an elevator. Make sure you select which floor.
Yeah.
Because there's no buttons inside.
Yeah. So I would say our overall impressions, I really liked the beauty of the ship.
I liked how like modern and clean and classy it was. It wasn't like gaudy. It was very...
Yeah. And for the size of the ship, I didn't feel like it was overly crowded.
No, I felt like there was space for me.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
I mean, it was busy, but we've had much busier.
Like, yeah, sometimes
for a sold-out cruise.
Sometimes we went and sat down the side on a lounger, but we always could find our space. We always were in the theater, or it worked very well.
Yeah, I would say there was, I don't want to say lots of hot tubs. There was an adequate amount. I always say every ship I think could use more hot tubs, so I wish there was a couple more.
And hot tubs.
Yeah. The entertainment spaces were really good, especially I like the atrium and the theater held a lot of people. Plenty of restaurants and bars, like especially restaurants and bars around the ship. And I think we already mentioned this. We just felt, having been Bella guests, we didn't feel kind of
second class,
no. So the other thing I should mention in this area is the ship was very well maintained. One of the best maintained ships we've seen. Now I will say this because on the last day I did see some damaged glass that was broken. I'll give MSC the benefit of the doubt that that'll be repaired quickly, but overall, like, there was very little wear and tear on the ship.
Everything was as it should be. It was very nice.
So that was over by Pirates Cove. I saw the broken glass, and that was on the last day. And I don't know if it had just happened because we'd been in that area. Overall, not a lot to wish for, maybe the mini golf or whatever, but I think the beauty and elegance of the ship just was amazing.
It won me over.
It was really nice. So our balcony cabin, 10024 on deck 10, towards the front of the ship on the starboard side, or the right-hand side.
So this cabin we booked as a Bella Experience. And the big thing with the Bella Experience is that you pick the category. So we wanted a balcony cabin, but the cruise line actually chose the cabin number for us.
Yeah, so it was assigned to us automatically. We didn't get to pick it. This one was one of the ones where the ship kind of cuts back in, so we could look down and see the balcony from below us, and we're back behind kind of the promenade area. So we weren't right at the edge of the ship.
No, that's true. You could still see the water, but you could look down below you on other balconies and levels.
So let's start out with the colors and stuff. It was quite modern, so kind of grays and browns.
I like it because it has that kind of new, cleanish, lot of the gray, simple look.
I would say overall it was very clean and comfortable, modern, and it was well maintained.
We didn't see anything that was wrong with it.
So the other thing is we've come accustomed to hearing noises on cruises and things. Not horrible. This was probably one of the quietest cabins we've ever had.
I don't know if I ever heard noise from the hallway, and I couldn't tell if there was anybody in the cabins next to us. It was that quiet. And
it's one of the reasons you commonly go to guest services and ask for a fan, because you want that ambient noise. But they didn't have fans on this cruise, and it didn't matter.
It didn't matter.
I mean, who knows, maybe we had the quietest neighbors on earth, but...
Well, I didn't hear above us either. Like, it was quiet all the time.
It was quiet. So hopefully you have the same experience that we did. So, but let's talk about the bed. So it's 2 twin beds that convert to a king. The bedding was comfortable. The pillows I found to be comfortable. I would say the mattress was on the firmer side. I found it fine.
We like a firm mattress, but if you like a really soft, plush mattress, you may find it's a little firm. Yeah,
so I've seen people online complaining it's too firm for them. That's why I bring that up. We found it fine, but just something to keep in mind.
We've stayed on other cruise ships that have mattresses that I would say, are more firm than this one.
Yeah, and this was far more comfortable than a lot of them. And we've had quite a variety over the years. So. So there's quite a large mirror at the foot of the bed.
Really big, like
basically floor to ceiling.
Yeah.
Nightstands on both sides of the bed. I would say this is a wish for you. You always like a closed nightstand. These ones are open.
I do. And it's not the end of the world, but I like to be able to tuck things away and not see them.
Yeah. So, but speaking of tucking things away, your suitcase fit under the bed.
It did.
It slides right under, so that was nice.
Yeah.
Back on the nightstands, only one side of the bed had USB-A port, the other side didn't.
So we just packed an extra power bank, so that was the workaround.
Yeah.
So if you both need to have your cell phones plugged in next to your bed, that's good to know.
And as for plugs, so at the vanity, there was 2 North American plugs, 2 European plugs. We usually bring an adapter that gives us extra USB-A ports on the European plug. And there was a couple of USB-A ports there as well. So a variety there. In the bathroom as well, there was a shaver plug, so North American and European. So yeah. Let's talk about the balcony though.
Yes.
So I know we kind of already mentioned it. So it was a smaller balcony. It had 2 chairs and a little footstool. But being that it was a Bella, and we knew this was more than likely we were going to get this cabin, of these cabins.
It shows on the map, like when you look at the deck plans, you can see, now I could be saying this wrong, it's the balustrade. It's a metal balustrade balcony. So we don't have...
So let's call it the railing.
The railing.
For simplicity.
You know, it's usually glass. Well, it is solid metal.
Yeah. So if you're sitting in the chair, you can't really see the water.
You don't see anything.
Unless you're really tall. But when you stand up, it was pretty good views.
Yes.
Yeah. So we knew that. We got a good deal on the cruise, so we were okay with that. But if that's something you're worried about, there's a good chance you're going to get it with the Bella. If
you want to sit and enjoy looking out the water, and that's important to you, I would not pick a Bella. I would pick your own cabin.
Yeah. So, but for us, we were okay with it.
Yeah.
The money saved, we thought it was worth it. So.
Yes.
The living area, so there's quite a large couch in there. There's kind of a nesting stool and table that go with the vanity, or you can pull them out. Quite a large vanity with a mirror there. I'd say the room itself had pretty good natural light. And
I just want to touch on the fact that the coffee table was nesting. I appreciate that because it made the flow much better.
Yeah.
You weren't walking around a coffee table. You could tuck it away and the space worked better.
Yeah, I would agree. Now the TV, I'm guessing it was a 42-inch or so. It was kind of beside the vanity. So it actually pulled out so you could tilt it towards the bed or towards the couch. Your basic channels on there, lots of MSC channels that about excursions or booking future cruises, that sort of thing. Typical news, sports kind of channels. I didn't notice any movie channels on there. Some of the cruise lines have some movie.
No complimentary movies.
No, just the channels.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Often you'll find a complimentary movie channel or something that shows your 1-hour dramas or that sort of thing. There wasn't a lot of that. But on demand, I think, is what you're bringing up. There wasn't. I don't think there was any complimentary on demand, which I thought was kind of a downer. I think the movies we saw were around $12. So a lot of the cruise lines will at least have a few movies that are complimentary or some TV shows. That's a wish for me. They could definitely add that.
Because otherwise I find I just have the news on all the time.
Yeah, because it's either news or trying to tell you about your next cruise.
I know. So
There's only so many cruises you can book.
Really, I don't think there's a cap to that.
But yeah, it's fine. I mean, I say this all the time. We don't go on a cruise to watch TV, but it is nice to put something on maybe before bed or.
So maybe just download your favorite programs. Don't watch them on your devices.
Yeah. The main closet was over by the couch, so it was kind of 2 sides. So on the one side it had hangers, and there was a little shoe shelf at the bottom. I think there was 10 hangers.
There was 10, which surprised me, because usually I think there's about 20 hangers. Because when you think a 7-night cruise, and if we both bring formal wear,
there wasn't enough.
That should be 14 outfits. So I was hanging multiple dresses on one hanger. We could have asked for more.
We could have, but on top of that, the closet was quite small. It was probably one of the smallest, if not the smallest, closets we've had on a cruise.
And it's tight because it's between the couch. In some of the cabins, they're between the bed and the wall, but ours was between the couch. Mm-hmm. And so it's not easy to get into.
Let's put it this way. There was an adequate amount of space for a 7-day cruise, but if you were doing a longer cruise where there was more than 2 people in your cabin and that's what you have, that would be way too small.
If we brought the kids, oh my word.
So, and then on the other side, some shelving, there was 2 drawers, and that's where the safe was as well. The safe was quite small, more of a passport money safe than electronics. Maybe a small tablet could fit in there, but
you really had to make sure that the drawers were pressed in properly too, to be able to slide the doors. It was quite a tight fit.
So I would say Wishes, it's quite small, and the safe was small.
Was there enough space for us? Yes.
Yeah.
But was it like really a relaxed amount of space in the closet? Not really.
By the main door, a couple things that we should point out. There's the temperature control. How is the temperature for you?
It was okay, but I like a hot tub and I like a cold cabin.
Yeah.
It wasn't a cold cabin. It was just okay.
It was okay. It was average.
It was okay.
I wish it was a little cooler, but it was fine.
I like an icy cabin.
By the main door, there's 3 hooks on the wall. Again, we like to bring magnetic hooks. They work on the wall, the ceiling, and the door. So we find they work best on the ceiling because just pulling it straight off makes it a lot harder to pull off. So it works great for that. And I should also mention, by the door, you do need a key card in the slot for the lights to work.
So, but you got to tell me, what did you think of the bathroom?
All right, the bathroom, very modern. Yeah. I do have a couple of wishes though. I really appreciated that it was a glass shower door.
Yeah.
But that was a small shower. My elbow always bumped it, and the door would pop open, and it would spray the.
Like, no kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, it was small.
But at least it wasn't a fabric curtain.
No, I appreciate that. So it did have shampoo and a body wash, no conditioner.
No conditioner.
That's a wish. But this is probably a big pro. I was shocked how good the water pressure was.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we've had some cabins on other ships where it barely comes out of the spout if you hold it upside down. This one would basically shoot the ceiling.
Yeah.
Not like you're hosing down, like pressure washing yourself, but like it had decent pressure. Yeah. So, I don't know. It is small, your average
There is a
washroom.
shaving mirror in there.
Yeah.
But for tall people, it's positioned a little low.
and the toilet and the vanity. It was a normal bathroom. It was fine, but on the small side. So I'd say the overall maintenance and condition of it, everything worked properly. Nothing was broken. We've been in some cabins where a lot of stuff is damaged. The only thing I can think of is that the balcony, like going through all of it, the balcony door handle was a little wiggly. That's the only thing I could think of that needed
and
maybe
I didn't even notice.
Yeah, so. But overall, really nice cabin. Any other wishes or anything for that?
No, I thought it was a really nice cabin, especially that it was quiet and just felt really clean.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think nice and clean, modern. I felt comfortable in it for the most part. And a good selection of plugs other than missing a USB port beside the bed. And everything functioned properly. Final thoughts. I was happy.
I was happy too.
So, a nice cabin on the Seascape. So if you're getting value or enjoying this content, if you could go ahead and give us a follow on all your favorite social media platforms, it really helps us out in growing this channel so we can bring you more cruising content like you're watching right now. So Andrea, the free food and restaurants on the MSC Seascape. So this was all food that was included with our cruise fare at no additional cost.
Now let's be clear, we didn't get to eat everything that was included, but we sure tried. We did our best.
There were a lot of good options. So why don't we start out in the Marketplace Buffet restaurant. This is up on deck 16 towards the aft of the ship, kind of mid-ship to aft. A large buffet.
Extremely large, and it runs down both sides of the ship, and it's very long.
It is quite long. Sometimes I felt like I was walking a long time to get to the back. I'm going to share a tip for you right away. We would often go right to the back, and it was easier to find seats.
Definitely.
So where you can go kind of outside by the Bridge of Sighs, right inside there's a lot more seating.
There is. Especially if you're going with a group, you'll probably have an easier time.
Yeah. So, but beautiful, lots of seating, a variety of seating. So normal tables, some kind of half booths. I even saw some kind of high top tables in different areas. There's kind of floor to ceiling glass through a lot of it. So you could sit there and enjoy the views. It was very modern and nice.
I liked it.
Yeah,
it was nice. Yeah.
It was. So the buffet itself has quite a variety. So beverages, there was several beverage stations throughout, and they were all different shapes and forms, but they all basically had the same thing. So coffee, regular and decaf, of course, milk and cream for that, sweeteners, sugar. They had a variety of different teas, and then some orange juice. They had a pineapple drink, lemonade, iced tea, and then of course ice and water.
Okay, what I was really excited about was that the pineapple drink and the orange juice was available all day and not just at breakfast.
I don't remember a cruise where after breakfast you could still get orange juice. It usually cuts it off.
It's like
and then
10 o'clock, it's like off.
So on our sailing anyhow, you could get the pineapple and the orange juice through the whole time. So I enjoyed that.
Me too.
I should mention though, beverages at breakfast in the buffet area, you could also grab milk, and they had chocolate milk in the little containers. But in the main beverage station, that wasn't there, other than for your coffee.
Yeah.
Now, I should also say, the buffet, this is where you're going to find the pizza. So there isn't a designated pizza restaurant. There's a station in the buffet, or there may have been a couple of them. I'm going to say I quite enjoyed the pizza, and do I dare say probably the best out of the complimentary pizza of all the cruise lines.
I would agree, and I like that there was a large variety of types of pizza, and it changed from time to time.
I might be saying this because I prefer a thick crust pizza. So on some of the days they did have that.
Yeah.
So that might be why I say that. It tasted good. I was quite impressed with it. They make it fresh right there. So I did enjoy it. But it is in the buffet. There's not a designated pizza restaurant. So, and it was open quite late.
Yes.
So not at breakfast, but like it would go late into the evening. So yeah. Now the regular buffet, so of course at breakfast, bacon, I'll say they had a fair bit of bacon.
And I think...
No bacon, please.
No, and lots of bacon.
So sometimes there's some cruise lines that guard the bacon, like...
They trusted us with the bacon.
They trust us with the bacon. But there's eggs, so there was scrambled eggs, sausages. What's the eggs that you like that runs out?
Oh, like Eggs Benny?
Eggs Benedict.
Yeah.
Of course, there's fruit. One thing I have to say, this ship probably did fruit the best.
It was all chopped, which you love. Like
tons of chopped fruit.
So you can just scoop it, take it in a bowl.
Yeah. Of course, there was some cereals and breads and cheeses and deli meats, all that kind of stuff for breakfast. And then for kind of lunch and dinner, there was the carving station that would change daily. But of course, all the food kind of changes daily. I mean, other than the staples. So we saw build your own nachos. There was
and they had meat, like a pulled pork you could put on it.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like the basic. There was a lot of extra.
Yeah. So there was a build your own chili station. Burgers were in the buffet. So again, there's not a designated out of the buffet burger restaurant. So you can get burgers in there, hot dogs, different toppings, different chicken dishes. There was fish dishes, of course, deli meats, cheeses, different breads, pre-made salads and regular salads.
There was a lot of food.
Build your own salad, I should say. The other thing is there was a kids section that said kids only, I think, but stuff that more catered to kids, and chicken fingers and pasta. And
they also had a gluten-free section.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And it what they did there differently is that all the serving tongs were turned back, so staff would have to serve you. So this stops the cross-contamination. So if you do need gluten-free food, ask to make sure you can find. On our sailing, it was at the back of the ship.
We sat by it the one time, and there was a number of people who walked up and were so confused because they didn't realize it was the gluten-free, and they're looking for tongs, and
So it's good because you can see how cross-contamination would happen really quickly otherwise.
I did also notice there was some pre-packaged gluten-free items as well that you could ask for. So other than that, there was the dessert area was in there, all sorts of cakes and good things.
Oh, and they had really good empanadas too that I had in one
the
stage.
Dessert?
No, it just made me think of good food, and I went to the empanadas.
I'm gonna say
that were complimentary, not.
That's what I was gonna say. That's a pro. Like there is other cruise lines that will charge for that.
Yeah.
This was free on here, so I appreciate that.
I really enjoyed it.
And so, but back on the desserts, that's where the main soft serve ice cream would be. So it would be inside the buffet. So you could, on the sea days, they did serve it out by the Marina Pool, but for the most part, you would get it in the buffet. So yeah, I was quite happy with the buffet. Now, I know there was a wish you had.
Yeah, okay. I don't know why this is so hard, but I struggled to find oatmeal, and sadly, I go on a cruise and I still want my oatmeal. And it was at the beginning of the buffet.
Well, there was only one of them.
Only one place I could find.
Yeah, and it's a big buffet.
It's a big buffet. And it's interesting because, there's all these little stations of food, and some things repeat and some things don't.
Yeah.
It kind of gives me this FOMO though, because I always want to know what's the next one.
So you want to do your big loop before you decide?
Yeah, but I should have started out with the oatmeal. Anyways.
It was, anyway, just grab your oatmeal and enjoy it.
Or maybe I can save the oatmeal for home.
I know this is a small wish though too. The spoons were somehow not with the rest of the cutlery.
Yeah.
So you had to often they'd be over by the soup or something.
The cutlery's not on the table. You pick it up.
Yeah.
They have it wrapped in a napkin, and lots available always.
Yeah, but I wish that they would have spoons there, so you're not, because you're used to getting it with the rest of the cutlery. Anyway.
That's a small thing.
So the other thing I do want to mention is, so there's kind of only the two main complimentary eating areas, so the buffet and the main dining rooms, but there are some smaller things.
Yeah, and I can see that they're trying to spread out more food around the ship, even though they don't have an actual restaurant.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Marina Pool area.
Well, actually, I just want to mention out by the jungle pool.
Yeah.
So we noticed on sea days there was a table out there. We saw it a couple of times that they had burgers just kind of stacked up, and I think there were chicken hot dogs and water filling stations there. So that was a quick kind of grab if you wanted.
It was kind of like wrapped up food. So I didn't actually look at it because I wanted to, I wanted to scout out the whole buffet. But if you wanted something by the pool and you don't want to get dressed, that's a great option. Yeah.
So that I thought was interesting. The other thing was, you'd mentioned the Marina Pool.
Yeah.
There is the ice cream station there. I think it was kind of limited hours, mostly the sea days, but it's right above the buffet, so you can whip easily down in the back part of the buffet. But we noticed there was people walking around with
waiters.
I think they were burgers.
No, but waiters.
Oh, I thought you said wieners.
No.
Burgers.
Wait staff.
Yeah.
They were carrying the.
So anyway, so someone might walk by with burgers and just hand you one out by the Marina Pool.
Which helps.
Yeah. So
which definitely helps.
I guess my wish here, though, I just saw recently that, so the sister ship, the MSC Seashore, just introduced 2 more complimentary dining options. So I think it was called the Chicken Man, which is, I think, on deck 18 on that ship by the main pool. So I think that's like chicken sandwiches or chicken strips type of thing. I haven't eaten at it, so I don't know. And then the red cactus barbecue and ribs on deck 8, I think, by the infinity pool. So this ship definitely needs those.
That would be a great addition to that. It also helps to kind of like spread food out a little bit.
I would agree. So those options, maybe yes, it was fine getting the pizza in the buffet, but another kind of dedicated pizza area might be a good idea. But so beyond that, so complimentary dining beyond the buffet, kind of in those upper areas, I would say there were a few complimentary breakfast options outside of the main dining room and that. So the first would be Butcher's Cut. So we went there on one occasion for breakfast. It was complimentary. We had steak and eggs, I think. They had different things, sausage and bacon and all that. One thing I really liked there was their little bread or pastry basket.
Yeah, that's good.
They had the donut.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes,
Yeah, it was so good. And then, of course, complimentary coffee and juice there. So that was a good option. Honestly, I think I preferred still the main dining room for breakfast over that, but it was one option.
You know, I kind of forgot about the donuts, but my brain went back because I remember they were very light and fluffy donuts. Like they were really good.
I feel like it was a donut. It was like a mix of that and then like a kind of a scone type of thing.
I believe we were like splitting everything because we both want to know about everything.
The other one was Ola Tacos and Cantina had a complimentary breakfast. So again, Butcher's Cut and that Ola Tacos are specialty restaurants at night. But in the morning they had complimentary breakfast. Now we didn't get to try that. We didn't have time.
We wanted to, but somehow.
It's hard to try everything. I'll pop up. I do have a image of the menu. I'll pop that up on the screen for you. The other place, if you wanted a really light kind of continental breakfast, was the Loft Cafe.
This was great too if you just wanted to get a coffee without going upstairs.
Yes, because that was the only place that you could just grab and go on the lower decks.
We like survive on coffee. So to get coffee closer to your cabin is...
It was a very limited breakfast menu. More coffee, teas, there was some juice in there, pastries, donuts. Actually, the donuts were good in there.
Did you have a few?
I may have.
I think you had them without me.
I don't know. I don't remember. They had some yogurt and sandwiches. So really relaxing atmosphere. And if you just wanted a quick breakfast, or maybe it's you can check in the kind of daily planner if they have it before a port day. It might be a quick stop for you there as well. So
really great if you're in a hurry. You just want a quick something.
So I would just really say a wish would be another kind of grab and go or smaller pastry type of free complimentary thing in the atrium or in the Times Square area where you could grab sandwiches or fruit or cookies.
I would love that in Times Square. Can you imagine if they had like hot dogs, like a New York style?
Well, that would be
like they could totally
a hot dog stand in there. Actually, would be really cool, New York style or like New York pizza or something.
Yeah, they could totally run with that.
Yeah. Anyway, another area, but also complimentary beverages, even if it's just coffee and water, tea, that sort of thing, would be appreciated.
It would.
And a cookie.
You can always have cookies.
All right, let's talk about the main dining rooms.
Okay, yeah.
So we ate in both there's 4 main dining rooms. One of them is for the Aura guests, I believe, that it's kind of
my time.
Where you can choose what time you go, and then there's, I can't remember.
Set dining time.
Set dining time. So the Cala John Dal and the Green Wave are the ones we ate in. So the first night we were in the Green Wave, and then we switched to the Cala John Dal.
Or it might have been the other way. I don't remember.
Anyway, but we ate in one of them. I believe the Green Wave for breakfast when they had that. So
we requested a time change, so that's why we got switched to a different restaurant. Normally you have one.
It was the Green Wave on the first night and Cala John Dal the rest of the week.
Yes.
But we went to the Green Wave for breakfast. So, all right. So they have I would say a modern design. They're not an elegant design restaurant. So single story. For the most part, they're not at the aft of the ship. So windows, if they have them, are on the sides. So minimal window seating. We like to try and get a window seat, but that's clearly not the case all the time.
No.
So they did have QR codes, so you could scan and look at the menu on your phone. They also had menus.
And they just give you the menu.
Yeah, it wasn't assumed that you were going to look at your app. So
I like the app for a sneak peek. of what's going to be on the menu.
Yeah.
But when I'm dining, I feel like it's part of the dinner ritual to hold that menu.
For sure. Did you ever feel rushed? I didn't.
No. And the staff were just amazing.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, I think I would consider these more modern than elegant. They're not the 3-story. You don't walk in and go, "Wah!" The
ceiling actually feels low because sometimes in some of the spaces it spans out, and because it doesn't rise up, it feels kind of capped.
Now, I see online a lot of people are like wonder about the food quality. I would honestly say some of the dishes were better than the competition, but I would say overall I'd just call it at par.
Yeah.
A lot of the dishes are similar to what you'd see on other lines. I would just say it was just at par.
It's gonna, it also comes down to personal preference, because like most of the food I thought was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But I will say that I've had someone else's short ribs that I like better than what I had. But they were still really good.
But there were things I liked better on this.
Yeah, their yogurt parfait.
Was probably, we used to always say a different one was better. I think this one's my favorite.
This is my new favorite. It has a little bit of chocolate on the top, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it was good.
Really amazing.
It felt kind of whipped. It was good.
Yeah.
Well, let's go into breakfast. So some of the breakfast items, pastries and croissants and all that kind of stuff. They had the smoothie yogurt bowls.
Yeah.
I think we actually had this in the butcher's cut as well. It had kiwi and it was really good. And then, of course, the yogurt parfait you'd mentioned.
Yeah.
Of course, different types of eggs, omelets, scrambled eggs.
Eggs Benedict.
Eggs Benedict. One thing on the eggs, I do want to mention there is an omelet station or 2 or 3, I don't know how many, up in the buffet as well.
Yeah.
So I know we didn't mention that. I don't know how many, but there definitely is.
Yeah. We lost count in there.
So different fried eggs, Eggs Benedict. I know you like your Eggs Benedict. I had the huevos rancheros, the kind of eggs, chicken tortilla, guacamole, and salsa. Quite a bit of guacamole on it. Of course, different meats, bacon, sausage, hash browns, juice, coffee, tea. So, and then at brunch there even had. So I'm kind of combining breakfast and brunch. So on one of the sea days they did have like a brunch.
Which was nice because then the hours were a little later too.
Later, yeah. So we had the West Indies bread and butter pudding and the strawberry shortcake.
They were good.
Yeah, and they had other things at the brunch, more like steak and eggs type of thing. So lots of different options there. Now dinner. So again, we were in the Cala John Dell for most of the week. There was some really good food. There was. So appetizers, different salads. So we had the Greek salad. I like that. Of course, the Caesar salad. I had that a few times. You even had Caesar salad, I think. The Southwestern salad. All right. So some of the cool appetizers, though, I like the mozzarella stuffed meatballs.
Yeah.
That was good.
That's good.
Spinach and artichoke dip.
That's always good.
Crab and seafood cake. You were surprised how much crab and seafood there was.
Like actual pieces of meat in it. Yeah.
So shrimp cocktail, veggie spring rolls. Of course, escargot. I like ordering that.
Some calamari.
Calamari. So some really, a whole lot more than what we're just describing. Some of the main courses, the southern fried chicken I had on the first, I think it was the first night. It was massive.
Yeah.
It's huge.
I don't know that you finished it. It was so big.
No, it was huge.
Yeah.
And I think you had the prime rib, which we were surprised that it was on one of the first nights and not on the formal night or the gala night.
Yeah.
So.
Night 1.
The carne asada steak we had, different pastas, the beef brisket, fish and chips. There was, and then on the gala night, so we had the filet mignon, and we also had the duo of broiled lobster and jumbo shrimp. So your second entree, they do charge $5 for. We ordered both of them. So
unless it's pasta. If you can order pasta with no extra cost.
The filet mignon was good on the gala night, but I think this was the best complimentary lobster tail I've had on any cruise line.
Agree. And it was a good size.
Yeah.
And it was tastier.
It was good. So I'm saying complimentary lobster tail because I've had lobster tail that's like 4 times the size off the ship.
Well, and I think my favorite lobster is barbecued, which is
Yeah.
But this was still good.
But this was quite good. So, yeah, if you enjoy your complimentary lobster, make sure you go to the gala night. Desserts, I always like the key lime pie.
I always make sure I get that because you're not, sometimes you see something, you're like, oh, I'll get that the next night, and it's not always on the menu.
Yeah. So I think they actually called it the Florida key lime pie.
Yeah, it's good.
The royal cake, the New York cheesecake was really good. Tasted actually like cheesecake. Tiramisu, and of course they had the baked Alaska.
Yeah.
Cruise Classic. So lots of good food options here. I do appreciate again that the lobster tail, you could get that on the formal night, and the filet mignon was really good. And then I do want to note one other thing, because I usually try to keep track of how many broken dishes we have through the week.
Okay.
I only counted one.
Like a little chip.
One little chip. So like a cup with a chip on it, or I only counted one, and you might be like, oh, you shouldn't see any. We've been on cruises where I'm sure there's been over 10. So to have one was pretty good. Because you can't, I mean, you're thinking thousands of dishes.
Yeah.
So it kind of says something about the overall quality of the show.
Everything. Yeah. Everything was in good condition.
We should just mention the theme nights for dining. So on day 3 was the gala or formal night. Caribbean and Western nights were part of kind of the main party-ish type of thing. So, but they did have Western-ish food one night as well as Caribbean-ish food.
Yeah.
And then the final night, day 7, was the Italian night.
And they really go into that. The waiters and waitresses are like wearing big glasses and decorations.
Well, and the tables are decorated for it.
Yeah, and they're singing. It's fun.
Yeah. So overall, I think it was a better, just overall on the ship, the buffet was probably better than we've experienced a lot of time because most of the food is in there. So they have more options in there. A good variety throughout the cruise. And the main dining room, I would say was kind of at par with the competition. So, and the coffee was strong.
It was strong. I was happy.
And the fruit. I liked all the chopped fruit because I don't know, I like it in a bowl. Anyway, that would be our overall impressions. So I was happy.
I was very happy.
So the entertainment and activities on the MSC Seascape.
So we start in the Core Theater. So that's your main big theater where the big production shows happen.
Yeah, so it's towards the front of the ship on deck 6 and 7. One thing, you do need to reserve seating in the app.
And I could not reserve the seats prior to getting on board. But when we got on board, I think we could book the first 3 nights.
And then partway through the week, you book the rest of it. You saw them show up. So I would check every day or every morning what's available.
I'm sure you may even want to ask somebody working there.
Yeah. So I would say a mid to large size theater, very more modern than elegant, but some good sight lines in there.
Efficient.
Yeah. So let's start out again with the production shows. So there was something every night. They were typically about 35 to 40 minutes long, usually at 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock. So the first night there was something called Imagine Ocean. So that was more of a singing and dancing performance. You said it reminded you of The Little Mermaid.
It did, but it didn't have the classic Disney Little Mermaid music. It was like their own take on The Little Mermaid.
And then on day 2, there was a show called Premiere, so another singing and dancing performance. They sang through songs from different movies. So I remember Rocky, that was my favorite, but they had like Ghostbusters and some other ones in there. I did enjoy that one. I just, some of the songs really brought me back, so Rocky. But yeah, it was fun.
The storyline that wove it all together wasn't my favorite, but I did enjoy the music.
Okay, yeah. Day 3 was Young at Heart, so another singing and dancing. This one had more of a romantic feel. Day 4...
I love the romantic ones.
Day 4, they actually did comedy, so there was no traditional theater show. And then day 5 was called Love Blooms. I think this was one of my favorite.
Yeah.
So again, singing, dancing. This one incorporated more aerial acts in it, and it sang through nature. So it had things like fire ants, spiders, poison ivy. and it was kind of intertwined with another love story.
And then the graphics were really good with this one on the background.
Yeah.
So these shows, though, were primarily the same dancers and singers every night, the same production staff.
If I were to say, if you're going to pick two, that's one of the ones I would probably pick. That was one of our favorites. That was day 5, I believe. Day 6 was in concert. So that was actually kind of like a rock concert. So songs you're familiar with that everyone knows. So it was actually like just,
More like,
Yeah, so that was good. And then day 7 was called Dreamscape. And this was the other one that, you said it reminds you of Mary Poppins.
Yeah, I think it was the era, and it had that kind of, I think the costumes and everything.
Yeah, so this would be the other one I think we both thought was our favorite. So between that and the Love Blooms, I would say that were the top two for us. Again, singing, dancing, and aerial kind of, or aerial dancing or
I do want to
acrobats.
see, though, these shows were all in English. There might be the occasional song sung in like Italian or something, but it's just in one language.
For sure. Now, the other thing is they had the Love and Marriage show. This was in the afternoon on a sea day.
Which surprised me, because I'm used to seeing this like at 10:30 at night.
Yeah, it was packed out. It does kind of give me a wish, though. I'm not sure why it was in the afternoon on a sea day when everybody wants to be out at the pool, or like it was late afternoon right before dinner. We actually had to leave to go get ready for dinner, but it just seemed odd at that time.
Not my favorite time, because I like to take advantage of being outside when the weather's nice.
But one really big plus is that they didn't replace any shows with things like bingo or a game show, things that are money makers for the ship. They actually did performances every night, which I really appreciated. Because it always bugs me when they replace a main production show and do Deal or No Deal. Yes, they're fun, but I think
I don't like to give up my theater type production for that.
So I would say lots of singing and dancing, aerial performances. There's the contortionist too.
A lot of contortionists.
Lots of color and movement, I would say. Any other thoughts on that? I think they're just high energy.
High energy. Generally, like, I felt they were very strong, family friendly.
Yeah.
And even with the length, I would say they were better for kids too. Like, kind of, you can hold your attention span.
And the costumes and visuals were good. I really liked the Love Blooms. Yeah. So just some really good outfits in there. I guess another kind of wish would be a lot of them had the same format, just singing and dancing. And I wish there was a little bit more variety because there was so many of them throughout the week. So maybe bringing in like a magician or a ventriloquist, and other sailings might have that kind of stuff, or a pianist or some kind of guest entertainer.
Those staff that were singing and dancing, they performed a lot.
The shows were good, but 6 very similar shows started to become a lot. And I'm glad the ones we really liked were towards the end, because
you might grow tired of it otherwise.
Yeah. So, but I mean, overall they were good, but 6 very similar shows.
I love when they bring in like a guest singer. Like, we've been on one ship where they brought in a finalist from American Idol, or like something different.
We were on a different ship where there was that pianist playing upside down on his head and all that kind of stuff. So just a magician, that sort of thing, I think would have gone a long way.
You like your magic shows?
I do. You don't. All right. Let's move from the Cora Theatre back to Le Cabaret Rouge. So this is at the aft of the ship. Deck 7 is where you enter, I believe, and it goes down to deck 6. Almost every night, I think, it might have been every single night, they had the variety show. So live performers in there. So there was different singers. There was the band in there. Contortionists, acrobats, some little specialty acts. It was good, but I would say, again, a wish is that it became a little redundant. So I enjoyed it, but we kind of stopped going halfway through because it was very similar every night.
Yes. I was hoping for a different type of act.
Yeah. So but I did enjoy it. But then again, it became kind of very similar. So yeah. But they did have other things in there. So, and I think we'll get to this, like the MasterChef at sea, was in there. All sorts of events. So it wasn't just the variety show at night, but there was, that would be kind of more main showy. But it is a beautiful venue and the atmosphere. So it was a good alternative if you don't go to the theater shows.
And it's also a good spot if you want to just go sit by the window and take in the view, especially during the day. You can see the ocean and it's cozy.
Yeah. So overall, fun. Check it out, but don't be surprised if it's very similar from night to night. So one of the cool things, and I think this might be the best I've seen on any cruise, is the amount that the staff interacts with the guests.
This was very different than what we've seen on other ships. Very intentional that that especially the officers are mingling with guests.
Yeah.
For a lot of many different events.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there was the captain's welcome speech, which you don't always get.
Yeah.
There was selfies with the officers on day 7 where we, in the atrium area where we went and took photos with them.
They used our cell phones. This was not an opportunity for them to sell photos.
Yeah.
They had staff using our phones.
Yes, and they had props like hats and different things. Actually, that's a good point. This cruise, yes, there was the photos where you could go get portraits done, but far less pestering of you to take a photo that they're going to sell you.
Yeah.
So, or they were at least more discreet about it.
And willing to use your phone.
Yeah.
To get the photo.
Yeah. So that's a big perk. Officers in motion dance party in the atrium. So the officers came into the atrium and you could go dance with them, and they were taking part in the Macarena or whatever it was.
A lot of officers.
Yeah. Yeah. It was well attended. So that was really good. The officers and guest competitions. So out by the Marina Pool. So they had what would you call it?
Kind of like relay competitive.
Yeah, as a bottle flipping or singing kind of competitions to next words from the song type of thing, or song titles.
That was probably one of my favorite games that I've seen played by the pool.
Yeah, yeah. And then the MSC crew talent show. So this was it the last day? I'm pretty sure it was the last day. They had staff from the ship that did a talent show in the Cora Theater. I guess this could be considered a production show a little bit, but it was in the afternoon.
It was packed.
It was packed. We came a little bit late because we were doing something else, and we had to sit at the very, very back. Yeah, so that was very full. It was full. And we'd already mentioned the Master Chef at Sea. So not only, this was in the Le Cabaret Rouge, where it's kind of like a bake-off, decorating a cake type of thing. Yeah. But they did incorporate the staff into that as judges, the cruise director, that sort of thing. And I feel like the cruise director and the cruise director assistant were, you saw them all over the place, all the events. So I would say very strong interaction between the crew and the guests.
It was a really great effort to connect.
Yeah, so I enjoyed that. Other activities back out by the pool. So they had the Pool Olympics the one day where it's kind of races across the pool on floaties and competitions. And then I think right after that was when the officers and guests competition happened. So cool stuff going on out there. There is different sports and recreation around the ship. So ping pong and foosball by the jungle pool, kind of above it. I did appreciate that was kind of a covered sort of indoor area. So you're not playing ping pong out in the wind.
Yeah, because that can make it a little bit challenging.
Yeah. Sports court way up on deck 20, I think, where the ROBOTRON was. So that's the I shouldn't say VR, the ride that flips you upside down and spins you around. The arcade hall of games. So this is where there's VR experiences, arcade games, racing games.
And the F1 simulator.
F1 simulators in there. So I think we didn't try it, but one day. I didn't actually go through there very often in the daytime when it was open.
Which is funny, because it's actually one of the main walkways.
Yeah. There was other things, so kind of arts and social activities, arts and crafts, dance lessons.
Okay, I think this may have had the most dance lessons I have ever seen on a ship. It seemed like when we were in Times Square, every time I looked down, there was a dance lesson.
There was lots of dance lessons, and I don't know that that's the only place they were offering them. Like, there was other places, I'm
like,
sure,
if you want to dance, they got it for you.
They teach you how. Trivia, games. I miss the hockey trivia. I wish I would have gone to that.
Yes.
And then let's talk about parties as well. So a lot of people ask what parties there were. So, of course, there's the sail away party out by the Marina Pool. On day one as well, so in the evening, they had the glow party. So that was in the Cabaret Rouge. So glow sticks, bright colors.
You're thinking neon, maybe white.
Family friendly.
Yes.
Very family friendly.
Yeah.
Day two, they had the tropical party in the atrium. So if you have a kind of tropical Hawaiian style shirt, I would probably say bring that.
Yes, yeah, like a Hawaiian type. If you're wanting to pack something, that would be something to bring.
Yeah, so a lot of people dressed up in floral type shirts, so that was fun. They also had the silent disco on day 3 in the atrium, so that's where you wear the helmets, headsets that play the music, so it's silent when everyone's dancing. White night, so this is a big one. I would say if you're packing 2 things, pack a tropical type shirt and then white shirt.
Or dress.
Or dress.
Yeah. Because obviously, go to the party even if you don't bring white.
Yeah.
But most people are wearing white.
Yeah.
Especially up at the Marina Pool.
Yeah.
Very high participation in that one.
Yeah. There was the sunshine party. So that was on day 5, a 60s, 70s, and 80s party. So if you have some gear for that.
I didn't see as many people dressed up as that one.
No. I think most people knew about the white night and the tropical night. And then Dancing with the Officers, we already mentioned in the atrium. We didn't go to this one, the Boot Scootin' Country Bash at the Marina Pool.
I did see a couple cowboy hats, though.
And then on day 7, during the day, they had the snow party where they kind of blow foam across it. Bubbles, yeah. And it was out by the Marina Pool, just kind of a dance party.
But when we were there, it was really windy, so the bubbles just went off the deck.
So I would say lots of theme parties and fairly strong participation, especially for white night.
You know, really quickly you realize, though, when you look at the schedule, it's not possible to get in every event because there's so many things and some things overlap. So you pick what's your priority.
Yeah. Other than that, for entertainment, a fair bit of music around the ship. So
in the atrium,
high energy atmosphere. So jazz music in the Loft Cafe almost every night, I think. That was a really relaxing atmosphere.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it in there. Kind of a good place to just unwind after a port day, just sit in there enjoying the music.
It's usually where I go and flip through the photos from the day.
And then the variety show, I know we already mentioned this in the Cabaret Rouge, had quite a bit of singing and musicians in it, I would say. So overall, quite a fair bit to like.
Yeah, I mean, there's, like I said, a lot, so much that you can't do it all.
Yeah. So, I mean, yes, some of the shows became repetitive, but overall, I think they were quite solid and good, especially the couple we mentioned. Family-friendly environment.
You can tell that MSC is making an effort to make this a family-friendly cruise.
I would say that for sure. And then I really, again, appreciated how the crew and officers were involved. That was a good job. So, good on there.
Yeah.
As for overall wishes, again, a little bit more variety would be good, but for the most part, we had a lot of fun.
We did.
Yeah. So, that's the entertainment and activities on the Seascape. I don't know. We just had a good time.
We had fun.
So I hope you enjoyed our likes and wishes from our 7-night Caribbean cruise on the MSC Seascape. If you could go ahead and give us a follow on all your favorite social media platforms, it would really help us out in growing this channel so we can bring you more cruising content like you're enjoying right now. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Until next time, happy cruising.